One thing that I've been thinking a lot about recently is how easy it is to be anxious right now. I think about the thousands of people who have died and the concern for our well-being, their family's well-being. I think about how easy it is to be anxious about the economy and how it's took a big crunch in recent weeks and what that means for jobs and savings and retirement. And all of these things give so much opportunity for us to be anxious about our future, anxious about even our present. And this has led me to think about how the Scripture and how God calls us to respond to our anxieties. And I think about 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 and 7 in particular. There it calls us to humble ourselves before God. God is the sovereign God. He is the one who is in all control. And we're called to humble ourselves before Him. And we do that in part by casting all of our anxieties on Him. Casting all of our anxieties on Him, as the verse goes on to say, because He cares for us. I find something interesting in studying that passage as well. When it says, cast all your anxieties on Him, that verb used for casting is used only one other place in the New Testament. It's used when the disciples are casting their coats before the Lord in His triumphal entry. So this provides a great illustration for what we have for casting our anxieties in God's hands. It's the illustration of the disciples taking off their coats and throwing them on the ground. They have completely unburdened themselves with their coat and laid it out before the Lord. And so we too are called to cast our anxieties on Him. We are to unburden ourselves with our anxieties, putting them where they belong, in the hands of God, who has control. We don't have control over all of our circumstances. We don't have control over the world, the economy, the spread of this virus. But we do have the capacity to put our cares in God's hands and trust in faith that God, who cares for us, will deal faithfully with us through this time, working everything for the intended result for which He allowed it to happen. And so I just think of all the opportunity there is to be anxious right now should lead us as Christians to think of all the opportunity that we now have for prayer.